Evernote. So they have released a few updates. Today's video, I want to overview what they are and I guess a few of the nice things that they've released, but talking a little bit about sort of what they're working on, things like that. It's really interesting to see that Evernote has released this sort of stuff. So let's dive into this video. So the first thing they've released is the iOS lock screen widgets. They've improved this for iOS 16 with some improvements. I think they've released a couple here. Recent note bar and task bar as well, so you can now be able to sort of activate tasks in there. They're really trying to optimize how that looks and how that's done. A few sort of minor things that you'd think would already be in Evernote, but they're really fine-tuning it, which is good news. So one of the things they're doing is when you're doing your to-do list now, you can see options for today, tomorrow, and now you can see recurring too. Another thing that I had sort of bugbear with from my review of it last time I did is you can now add custom reoccurrence. So if you have a specific example, like a second Tuesday of the month and certain start dates and things like that, you can now modify that in there. Another thing as well is if you've got your Google Calendar connected to your Evernote, you can share meeting notes automatically, which means that it's pretty succinct when you've invited people and you want to correlate a list to it, which is nice. The other thing I didn't really have in my mind is now you can control note settings. So from the Notes tab in the settings menu, you can choose whether you want the cursor to start in the note body or the title. So for example, you can set up some of these setups, like start a note within the body, choose the sort of views that you want, like whether images are previewable, whether PDFs have everything viewable, spreadsheets are viewable, etc. So you can really quite customize how a note views that might annoy you when you have to do small little bits and bobs on the account. Another thing you can do now is this feels like it should have been on it ages ago, but you can now create a note link. So when you're inside of a Evernote link, you basically can paste something and it now exists as a note that is linked. Much like you would with the other stuff, but they've got an example here of a Kanban board, but that's a good example of how it's being used. But it doesn't necessarily, I don't think it actually creates a link between each of the notes from my awareness of it, but it does allow you to see that note in that preview, which is something that I hated from the start of Evernote, and all of these other apps have had it for ages. Spreadsheets are now previewable, which is a nice bonus, and you can also change the bulk actions on the amount of tags, deletes, and things like that, which is so much beneficial. I think you can do up to 100, which is something I was hating a couple of months ago, not being able to delete multiple notes in a big bulk like that. So they've also removed the auto update button as well. So Evernote doing some pretty interesting stuff. One of the things that I don't like at the moment is that their homepage is so cluttered. This is what happens when you go on the Evernote website now. It's very cluttered in terms of like pushing you to buy the 50% off. Other news, I've reached out to Bending Spoons. Until their sort of full process of the acquisition has happened, they naturally can't do any interviews, which is totally understandable. But hopefully that means now I've got a contact over at Bending Spoons, which means that hopefully we can set up some sort of interview at the start of next year, which will help me to get a better gauge of where they're focusing on stuff. So I look forward to that. Obviously this is a good update from Evernote, but not necessarily like things that you'd expect. It's much more I think it's quality of life updates that Evernote have released here. So hopefully you enjoyed this overview of all of them, and please do let me know if you are interested in more Evernote videos. Thank you very much, folks. I look forward to seeing you in a future video here on my channel. Thank you very much. Cheerio. Bye.